The best MLB one and done seasons of this century. Let's talk about it. Okay, just so we're clear, one and done in this context kind of means what it does in college basketball, where a player goes to a team, spends just a year there, and then leaves. This is not a list of one-year wonders, so don't expect to hear names like Aristides Aquino. So hopefully we're all on the same page and we can go start in 2003. 2003. Marlins Ivan Rodriguez. Ivan Rodriguez spent the first 12 years of his career as a Texas Ranger, and in that time, he won 10 Gold Glove Awards, which was already tied for the MLB record among catchers, and took home the MVP award in 1999, having all-time great written all over him by the age of 31. However, with injury shortening his 2000 through 2002 seasons and the Rangers already in hot water financially because of the massive A-Rod contract, Pudge needed to find a new home, and 1 year and $10 million is all it ended up taking to lure him to South Florida for the Marlins, a young team who's had 5 consecutive losing seasons after winning it all in 1997. And Rodriguez's impact was felt immediately, as in his first year catching over 110 games since the 90s, he was not only a steadying presence for the youngest pitching staff in the National League, but he batted .297 with an .843 OPS and had a team-high 4.5 BWAR. And funny enough, he also set what was easily a career high in walks at 55. And if you know Pudge, you know how big of a deal that is. And this helped propel the Fish to the postseason, where I-Rod's impact became even more apparent, batting .353 in the NLDS while driving in all of his team's runs, including a walk-off in Game 3, before having the most iconic moment of his tenure when he held onto this ball despite a collision to win the series in 4. And after driving in 5 in a key Game 1 win in the NLCS, the Marlins later infamously rallied down 3-1 in that series against the Cubs to win the pennant. And although his World Series performance statistically wasn't anything insane, his Game 1 backpick of Nick Johnson at third went a long way in a 1-run victory, as the Marlins actually pulled off an upset of the mighty Yankees in 6 to win their second championship. But since they're the Marlins, they of course blew up the team after a surprisingly successful season, a trend that still follows them till today. As with them not meeting the future Hall of Famer's contract requests, he'd take his talents to the worst team in baseball in Detroit for 4 years and $40 million, who actually won a pennant in just year 3 of that deal. 2006 Nationals, Alfonso Soriano. Alfonso Soriano was a freak talent, and he was really ahead of his time. However, his lack of plate discipline really held him back from monster seasons on a rate basis. I mean, in his second full-time season in 2002, he had 41 steals, 51 doubles, and 39 homers, although his OPS in comparison was just .880. A good OPS, don't get me wrong, but it's easily the lowest ever among players who had 90 extra base hits in a season. And in a weird bit of overlap with our last entry, after the Yanks lost that World Series to the Marlins, they made a cannonball splash by acquiring Alex Rodriguez from Texas, but to get the deal done, they had to surrender Soriano, who in his 2 years in Arlington was pretty underwhelming. And at first, it actually got worse when the Nationals in their second year in DC acquired him, because the Nats wanted Soriano, who basically only played second base until that point, to move to the outfield, and he simply refused, which almost led to him getting put on the rare disqualified list. But luckily for everyone involved, he eventually gave in, because not only would the 30-year-old have a career year in terms of OPS and WAR, but he also became the 4th member of the 40-homer, 40-stolen base club, with 46 and 41 respectively. Although there was a twist, as to this day, he's still the only member of that club to surpass 40 doubles as well. A club that, if you remember, he was just 1 homer shy of creating a few years back. And this performance helped him land a huge 8-year, $136 million deal in Chicago, which was kind of a mixed bag. However, his time in the nation's capital was undeniably incredible. 2008 Brewers, CC Sabathia. Look, I wanted to stay away from the trade deadline, but there are some I just couldn't overlook. CC Sabathia won the Cy Young Award for Cleveland in 2007, but in 2008, with the team out of the race by July, CC, who was having a down contract year, was shipped to Milwaukee, where magic happened. As in 17 starts for the Crew, CC pitched to a 1.65 ERA in 130 innings while having 7 complete games and 3 shutouts, with both of those marks leading the National League, helping him get first place Cy Young votes despite the fact he didn't make his first appearance in the league till July. But when you talk about Milwaukee CC, you have to talk about the end of the season, because with the Brewers going into a tailspin at the end of the year, they went from 5.5 games up in the wildcard race on September 1st to 2.5 games back on the 20th, which meant more than a simple collapse, because by this point, the Brewers hadn't been to the playoffs since the early 80s. But with CC throwing 7 innings of clutch 1-run ball on the 24th, he took the ball on 3 days rest and threw a 1-run complete game against the Cubs to launch the Brewers into the postseason. And while he didn't do that great there, this absurd back half to 2008 helped him land a 7-year, $161 million deal with the Yankees, the team that is most defined his now Hall of Fame legacy. 2010 Red Sox, Adrian Beltre. Quick note, out of all of the guys we're going to talk about in this video, this player jersey combo is the most jarring to me. For the first 6 years of his career, Adrian Beltre was a defensive wizard for the Dodgers who had fairly average impact with the bat. But in 2004, he had one of the best contract years ever, batting .334 with an OPS over 1,000 while slapping 48 bombs in an MVP runner-up performance. However, following him signing a 5-year, $64 million deal with Seattle, he wouldn't be able to recapture that form. Because while his awesome glove helped him be a productive player, his bat once again regressed to being league average. But unlike last time, his contract year for this deal saw him have his career worst offensive season while missing a month with a ruptured testicle. Yes, you heard that correctly. So this meant that the free agent market for this 30-year-old third baseman wasn't that hot, and it led to him signing a 1-year prove-it deal with the Red Sox. And well, he definitely proved it. Batting .321 with a career-high 49 doubles while hitting 28 homers and OPSing .919, making his first All-Star game and completely reviving his career. As after signing a 6-year, $96 million deal with Texas, he consistently batted over .300 with OPS marks over 20% better than the average hitter going forward, accumulating enough in his time in Arlington that he surpassed 3,000 hits, a mark that helped propel him to a Hall of Fame induction. 2012 Giants, Melky Cabrera. Okay, this one's a doozy. For the first 4 years of Melky Cabrera's career, he was a nice depth piece for the New York Yankees, being a solid back of the lineup piece for a team that won the World Series in 2009. But after being dealt to Atlanta and struggling mightily in 2010, he was released and picked up by the Royals, where he finally broke out for a .305 average and an .809 OPS in 2011. So when he was shipped to San Francisco prior to 2012, he was seen as a guy that could help them get back to the postseason after a disappointing 2011. But little did we know what we were in for, because following an impressive April, he broke out for a .429 average and an OPS over 1,100 in May, helping him make the All-Star team where he won that event's MVP award, having a .346 average and 159 hits on August 14th. However, on the 15th, he would fail a drug test for PEDs, which he admitted guilt on. But he said it was an accident and it was caused by a spike supplement that he took. A bit he was so committed to that someone in his camp made a fake fucking website promoting a fake product to try and con the players union into believing that story. Honestly, that's kind of hilarious. But of course, that didn't work, and Melky went on to serve a suspension while his Giants went on to win the World Series anyway. Cabrera signed with Toronto after the year, and while he did have some more productive seasons in the big leagues, he never came close to his time in the Bay again. 2014 Orioles, Nelson Cruz. Despite some bad, Nelson Cruz's time in Texas was very successful, as despite playing over 100 games in a season for the first time at age 28, Cruz averaged 27 homers in his final 5 years in Texas with 130 homers season. But the end of this tenure was rough, because in 2013 he was on pace for a monster year, having 27 homers in his first 108 games. However, with him being a part of the names that were listed in the Biogenesis PED scandal, Cruz was suspended 50 games, something that hung a huge black cloud over his free agency market, as he had to settle for a 1-year, $8 million deal with the O's that he signed after spring training already started. But once he settled in, he immediately kicked off the absurd back half of his career, homering 40 times for the first time in his career for a first-place O's team before hitting .357 with 2 more long balls in the postseason, getting MVP votes for the first time in his career, allowing him to land a 4-year, $57 million deal in Seattle where he averaged 41 long balls a year, helping him have 307 homers after the age of 33, which is the 3rd most in MLB history, with the 2 guys in front of him being Barry Bonds and Hank Aaron. Pretty good. 2016 Diamondbacks, Jean Segura. This season is a lot more important than you think. At age 23 in 2013, Jean Segura made an All-Star team for the Brewers. but then he quickly fell off, being 31% worse than the average hitter in 2014 and 15. But when the Cruz shipped him to Arizona after the 2015 season, the shortstop the Snakes moved to second base put on a show, betting .319 with an NL leading 203 hits while hitting 20 homers, 41 doubles, and swiping 33 bags and scoring over 100 times. He even had a game against the Cubs in April where in these sexy uniforms, Segura hit a traditional homer and an inside the Parker when Schwarber tore his ACL in this collision. And that is what later set the stage for Schwarber's heroic return that postseason. But that's not what makes this season especially important. Because with Segura at peak value, the Snakes decided to move him to Seattle. And in return, they got Taijuan Walker and a second baseman you may have heard of named Ketel Marte. So the D-backs faithful are definitely grateful for 2016 Jean Segura. But funny enough, for our next pick, we're staying in Phoenix. 2017 Diamondbacks, JD Martinez. Entering 2017, JD Martinez was coming off 3 great offensive seasons, but he took it to a whole other level to start the campaign with Detroit. Because despite missing the first month with injury, he still went on to hit 16 bombs with a 1018 OPS in 57 games. But this story truly starts in July, because after being sent to Arizona ahead of the deadline, JD would go on to hit 29 bombs with an OPS over 1100 in just 62 games as a Snake. And 4 of those bombs came in the same game against the Dodgers. And considering all 29 of those homers came in his first 60 games with the team, it gave Martinez the MLB record for the most homers in a player's first 60 games with a franchise. And the only other player to exceed 25 was St. Louis Cardinals' Mark McGwire. And with him batting .400 in September with 16 homers in total, it meant overall in 2017, he had a .690 slug with 45 round trippers in just 119 games. And for context, that .690 slug was higher than what Aaron Judge posted in his 62 homer season, helping him land a huge money deal in Boston where he not only hit .330 with 130 RBI in 2018, but he won a World Series and 2 Silver Sluggers. Yeah, he was so good at the plate, they give him the Silver Slugger Award for DH and outfield. 2019 Braves, Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson was one of the best players of the mid-2010s. After an impressive 7-WAR season for the A's in 2014, Josh Donaldson won the MVP award in his first year in Toronto in 2015. And then in 2016, he had a comparable season that saw him finish top 5 in MVP voting, meaning in this 3-year stretch, he had a 21.7 B-WAR. And for context, the only other player above 20 in this span was prime Mike Trout at 27.8. But injuries held Donaldson back from peak form the next 2 years, with 2018 ending with him having a weird cup of coffee in Cleveland that you may have forgotten about. Meaning, when he hit the open market that offseason, a 1-year $23 million prove-it deal with Atlanta was the move for this MVP talent coming off back-to-back injury-riddled years. And it ended up being a fantastic pairing, as the bringer of rain homered 37 times with an OPS of exactly 900 while flashing some great work at third base. And although this didn't lead to an All-Star game nod, it saw him win MLB's Comeback Player of the Year, helping him land a nice multi-year deal in Minnesota worth $92 million, posting solid stats his first 2 years there with even better quality of contact numbers, which is probably why before the 2022 season, the Yankees went out and traded for him. However, this backfired, as Donaldson posted back-to-back subpar seasons in the Bronx, and after a short stint in Milwaukee, he retired from MLB. 2021 Dodgers, Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer is one of the greatest pitchers of this century, and his 7-year, $210 million deal with the Nationals is one of the greatest free agent deals ever. Because while living up to big money deals is hard, Mad Max went out and finished top 5 in Cy Young voting, including 2 wins in every full season of that contract. But in 2021, with that contract set to expire and the Nationals out of the race, they were shopping him at the deadline. And although Ken Rosenthal reported that it seemed as he was heading to San Diego, the Dodgers swooped in and not only acquired him, but also Trey Turner in a blockbuster deal. And once Mad Max touched down in LA, he embarked on a truly wild run. Because in his first 9 starts, he pitched to a .78 ERA while striking out 79 over 58 innings. Something he took to a whole other level after start 5, as he'd go on a 37 2/3 innings pitch streak without allowing an earned run, which was highlighted by a start against the Padres, where he threw an immaculate inning, reached 3,000 career strikeouts, and took a perfect game into the 8th. The Dodgers won all 11 of Max's regular season starts, and they also won his first playoff start against St. Louis. However, despite pitching great in the NLDS against San Francisco, he was tagged with his first loss. But he'd get his revenge, coming out the pen on short rest a few days later to record his first save in enemy territory to send the Dodgers to the NLCS. Although, this is where the story comes to an unfortunate end for Scherzer. Because after having a fairly average NLCS start, he complained that his arm felt dead. And with him being scratched from his Game 6 start, he would not take the mound for the Dodgers again, as Atlanta won the series. Regardless though, this was an awesome run, and it helped Max land a 3-year, $130 million deal with the Mets, a record for AAV at the time. 2021 Blue Jays, Marcus Semien. Let's stay in 2021. Marcus Semien, despite being an average to slightly below average hitter for the first 6 seasons of his MLB career, broke out for 33 homers, 42 doubles, and an OPS 33% better than the average hitter in 2019, posting an almost 9-win season for the A's to finish 3rd in MVP voting. However, after he struggled in the shortened 2020 season, the market for a guy with one incredible season and a batch of pretty solid years wasn't crazy, allowing the Jays to snatch him for just 1 year and $18 million. And it's safe to say it was a steal, because despite a pretty meh April, Semien broke out for a .368 average and an OPS over 1100 in May, slapping 8 homers in the process, which became the theme of the year. Because with him consistently hitting a homer or two a week, Semien had 26 long balls on August 14th, setting the stage for a pretty ridiculous end to his season, as in his final month and a half, Semien homered 19 times to break the single season record for homers by a primary second baseman at 45. And although his Jays finished just short of the postseason, becoming one of the better teams of recent memory to miss October, Semien won a Gold Glove, a Silver Slugger, finished 3rd in MVP voting again, and then in the offseason, signed a 7-year, $175 million deal with the Rangers, a contract that saw him become a World Series champion in just the 2nd year of the agreement. 2024 Yankees, Juan Soto. In Juan Soto's first 6 years in MLB, his worst on base percentage was .401. He won a World Series and a postseason he played fantastic in. He led the National League in every part of the slash line in the shortened 2020 season. He finished runner-up for the MVP award in 2021 and had a legitimate argument for the award. And while 2022, the year he was shipped to San Diego, was easily the worst of his career, he was still almost 50% better than the average hitter. So when 2023 saw Soto bounce back to post a career high in homers, the Padres, who were shopping the 25-year-old star ahead of his contract year, found a home for him in the Bronx, where Soto got paired with one of the game's best in Aaron Judge, and he made himself comfortable fast. Because how else would he introduce himself than by slaying the Yankees' white whale of the Astros in the opening series in Houston, having a game-saving throw on opening day, a go-ahead 7th inning homer in Game 3, and a game-winning 9th inning hit off former teammate Josh Hader in Game 4 to complete a series sweep, which set the standard, as Soto had the first 40 homer season of his career to already surpass 200 career tanks, posted an OPS near 1,000, walked over 125 times again, and with help from Aaron Judge, scored an American League leading 128 times. And once in the bright lights of October, Soto leveled up, batting .321 with an OPS of 1107, including a pennant-winning homer in the ALCS. And while they fell short there, Soto definitely stood tall after, signing basically an $800 million deal to move crosstown to the Mets, giving the 26-year-old, who's been teammates with countless sluggers over the years, the chance to truly be the main bat in a contending lineup. So that was my list of the best one-and-done seasons in MLB this century. Thank you for watching, leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing to see more. And if that's the case, I'll see you next time.